Hi guys, welcome back to the PL report. Today, I guess the latest news right now is the Newcastle takeover. So with us today is Anshuman and me, Ayush, the same cast as usual. So Anshuman, tell me what are your takes on the Newcastle takeover and
Uh,
turnaround?
let's do a little bit of like we've come back after 2 weeks again. We are not being able to be consistent. Now we should be because I think we've both gone through our period of what would you call it? Like busy period, I would say in a way.
Yeah, I guess
So
so.
yeah. So I think now things are more settled for both of us, and I think weekly we should be able to podcast now. We'll actually be able to talk about what's going on, and obviously the latest news we are going to talk about right now. Uh, the Newcastle takeover. It came out of the blue, didn't it? Like it just happened last night.
I
So
guess I'm not sure it came out of the blue. I guess it was coming, but I didn't expect it to happen yesterday. And like when the news broke out again, like maybe a while ago there was rumors going on around of the takeover about to happen, but then the talk
yeah, well,
settled
even
down.
then, I think the news that Saudi Arabia has allowed Bain Sports to telecast in the country was a recent. I think it happened day before. I think it wasn't too far off. Like
Yeah, I
the
think
moment that news came out, and
then
within
it
the next
was
24 hours, this particular thing was done, and the new prospective owners of Newcastle, Amanda Shelby, she had her Sky Sports interview, and these guys started talking about it. Newcastle fans were celebrating, and like it's been a big. There's been so much discussion around this already. So okay, where do you want to start first? Do you want to start with the what's going to happen on the pitch now, or do we want to discuss off pitch matters first?
I think we should take on the off-pitch matters. And if I'm not wrong, I think my first question for you would be, we all know how the regime and all of that functions and all the journalist story which took place where a journalist walked into his office or something and he didn't come out and everything.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a
Just
lot
for
of
context, I'll explain what the situation was. So it was a journalist, a Saudi journalist, a critic of the Saudi dictatorship. You would call it a dictatorship, right? So
I guess we can.
yeah, so the Saudi dictatorship had critics. Obviously, they were journalists. This particular journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, I'm not pronouncing the name right, obviously, and he was murdered in Turkey in the Saudi consulate because he had gone there to pick up some documents. He was living in the US at the time of his death. And So basically, it was a 11-man hit squad that came out. And these aren't confirmed reports, but from what the Turkish authorities have told, and from what news has been uncovered over the 3-year period, this is the start of it all. Like the fact that Saudi critic walked into the consulate just to pick up some documentation, was killed by 11 people who came into the city and came out of the city in the same day of it happening.
Hmm.
So, like,
I guess that was horrifying.
it's not even horrifying. The horrifying part is not the thing, because this is happening every day in this is in the country. Like maybe I don't know, like these kinds of things are happening in the country because we do not have complete coverage of and unfiltered coverage of what goes on in Saudi Arabia because of the government in place there. So but this happened on foreign soil, and it happened so blatantly, and even then they got away with it. That's the problem. That is the message, because Saudi Arabia and its leader Mohammed bin Salman could do something like this and walk away. Like this is like one of the 30 different things that are problematic about this government. Okay, like women's
Yeah.
rights are a huge problem. Like gay rights, I don't think they've even started talking or having that conversation yet in the country. Like they started watching movies in movie theaters like 4 years ago. It's they movies were banned in the country for a while, and I mean there are very obvious issues with with the Saudi government, and uh, I'm in no place to tell what how this is going to work. Obviously there is legalese, and like they have figured a way out. It's a PIF, I think, Provident fund or
Yeah.
something. It's a fund that they've PIF that they've launched with some Saudi influence, and these guys, the other people who are involved in this. And I think we've discussed what the Saudi situation is. Let's just actually get to the football part of it and why people are so divided on this issue. So,
Mm.
okay,
I guess the
yeah, go ahead.
division comes because of, are you okay with a regime taking over your football club just to guarantee success? That's the first question that comes up.
Yes,
Are
yes,
you all
okay.
right with that? And then many people are split on that only because I
Okay,
guess
so
some
I'll
Newcastle
ask you,
fans.
what would you, if Arsenal yesterday tomorrow were taken over, for example, by maybe China, like for just for an example, okay, and you have very strong disagreements with the Chinese in terms of how their government functions. What would you, as a personal fan, would do?
So the thing is, stuff like this has already happened. If you take back a look again, about the Mesut Ozil situation which took place, where he spoke
Yeah,
something about the Chinese part, and huge chunk of our sponsors had a great influence of not playing him for a long time and all. So it's already happened, and
yeah.
I would not prefer a regime taking over, like, because even though how bad Stan Kroenke might be as a manager, we don't know yet. I'm not even sure because like he is a billionaire and there is a good chance he might have gotten his hands dirty, but it's not out there yet. We are not aware of it. It's not
Hmm.
blatantly out there. So
Hmm.
we can't exactly call him a criminal or anything. He might not even be one. So I think
Hmm.
even though, like, okay, there'll be the Champions League success, there'll be the league success. How would it matter if you're risking people's life and supporting violence and criminal acts?
Hmm.
How does it
Ah, no,
matter? And
absolutely, yeah. No, no.
honestly,
So, okay,
I,
okay.
I
Then what
guess,
would you
I
do? Would you walk
guess
away? Like, would you walk away from the club? What would you do?
walk away from the club. That's a tough one.
See,
That is a tough
that's
one.
the exactly right. That's the problem that people are facing. Like I don't know if it's a comparable situation, but I thought I had very mixed feelings about the Ronaldo thing. Like I had the thought that I might just stop watching this team play, but I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And that's why I think the first thing you have to realize is you have to empathize with the fans whose club is being taken off. We have no say over these things. And those guys especially, I don't know. I'm not talking about the celebrations or anything. Let's just put that, what
Yeah.
how they're reacting aside. Just this situation, we have been given this news that Saudi Arabia is involved in Newcastle United. It's not the first country who has involved itself in the English game. Manchester
Hmm.
City have done it very successfully. The PSG is doing it. Chelsea have weird owners, like has a weird owner who has great ties with Vladimir Putin and the Russian government. And there's a lot of these owners are like even look at like somebody like some great owners like the owners of Leicester City. They are Thai, like they are a Thai business, like
Exactly.
they carry a lot of weight in the country, I believe, because at least it's the biggest manufacturer of Thai beer in the world. Like that much I know, at least it's a huge company. And I mean, there is like that's what these own clubs are owned by. Like these clubs are owned by either eccentric billionaires or big company state sponsored families, or by the states themselves. So it's uh, it's a very complicated situation, and I don't begrudge a Newcastle fan. Actually, like, yeah, their celebration I might be a bit weirded out by, like because they're out in the street celebrating as if it's Diwali or something. But I mean, yeah, it's you can't really control that situation, can you? Okay,
Yeah. I
speaking of
think I
that,
think the
yeah,
fans on that side might be thinking, listen, it's already happened now. We
yeah,
can't do anything. So why not enjoy the ride? Like only enjoy what's happening on the pitch
yeah,
and
but
how
that's
it's
the
affecting
thing.
football.
Yeah, that's the thing, Ayush. Like you have to acknowledge that first. Acknowledge the fact that this is a troubling development. At least acknowledge that, so that, like, I mean, there are so many arguments you can have around this. So many different ways this thing can be this web can be pulled. Like it's like you can ask about, like, for example, how the British are the second largest arms dealers to the Saudis, and then you are expecting football to have morality and the government to not. Well, the British government, the shit show that it is, like that's a completely different topic for engagement. But this is it's just a weird situation, and especially football, because football is very reflective of society in the sense that the amount of people that engage with football, it's very rare to find that kind of engagement anywhere else from a country's perspective, right? Like most
Yeah,
people in
makes
England are
sense.
engaged with with football in one way or another. So I think it's a very complicated issue. There's a lot of different arguments that can be had about this, and okay,
Yeah, I guess the thing is the
hmm,
way you asked me a question, what would you do? Would you walk away from a club? I think I'll acknowledge what's going on and how bad it is. But you
hmm,
have to understand, loved this club before they came in. I have loved them for what they do on the pitch, not off the
hmm,
pitch. They
hmm,
might even have some shady owners as of now.
yeah,
Even with the Chinese disagreement which happened between Mesut Ozil and the team, I didn't stop watching Arsenal. I was really pissed, of course, but
hmm.
I can't stop watching that club. Like if it becomes a habit, it's not necessary
Yeah,
that
it
you have to
becomes
watch
part
it
of your
every.
life, simple as like
Exactly.
it's part of your life. Yeah,
It's a part of my weekend. Like even I fucking watch international friendlies during the weekend because I miss football sometimes.
yeah,
So it happens. Like you can't just drop something. You can't just walk away from a
yeah.
club. So I
Yeah, but
guess I'll
I think the problem with the discourse right now is, I think like we there are so many different things that we will not go into right now. But the
yeah.
one thing that we can go into is the way the Newcastle fans have reacted and the discourse
Hmm.
that is around this particular issue at the moment. Like Newcastle fans, like the arguments that are being made, like whataboutism that they're doing, like oh, like why do you eat from why do you buy shoes from Nike or something like that if if you have such a problem with like I'm just giving you an example, this is not an actual
Yeah,
argument
yeah.
that I heard. Like stop wearing Nike shoes because they are being manufactured by kids in sweatshops in China or something like that. If you have a problem with this, why don't you have a problem with that? Dude, just because there are other problems in this world does not mean your problem is not there. Okay, you can't, that by that logic, if somebody else has committed a murder, then I can commit a murder and say like, why don't you catch that guy? Like what kind of logic is this? Like that gives you the license to do anything you fucking want. Like at least if you're okay, at least don't pretend that you are right just because there are other problems happening around the world. Okay, like
Oh
just
yeah, it's not a comparison taking place that
yeah,
oh
that's the
this is
thing. Like
also
it's
happening
not even a
this side.
comparison, it's a deflection. It's a deflection. They're
Hmm.
deflecting the argument. They'll try and steer the argument. This is a very Trump thing. Like this isn't new at all, first of all, but this came
Hmm.
into limelight, the exact methodology, at least from my perspective. This came into light in 2016. Like all the arguments that these guys are making, conservative media makes it all the time. Like any media format that does not like what anybody else is saying, or any political person or anybody, like where these arguments are very relevant and it's part of the discourse, like that's what they do. They use whataboutism. They'll like I know people who have used those techniques. I have used them myself. Everybody does it. But the consistency with which it is being used, and for each and every argument the way it is being used, it's ridiculous. And you can't keep doing it and expecting the other person to have a normal discussion with you. If you
Fair
keep
enough.
doing whataboutery, then why would anybody engage after a point, especially when I've identified the fact that you're doing this? So
Makes
yeah,
sense.
I
I
just
agree
wanted to
with you
point
there.
that out. That's all mainly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should like now get on to on the pitch
Yeah.
stuff and how
Let's actually
Newcastle
talk about,
as a
yeah.
club
Yeah.
and
Let's talk
football,
about
how will
that.
they
Yeah.
progress?
I think
So
from a
my
football
first
perspective, I think first question, I'm sorry to cut you off, but first question we
sure,
have
sure,
to
sure.
ask is management. What will happen to
I
Steve
was about
Bruce?
to go on for that.
Yes. I think we
I'm
were thinking along the same lines. Yeah.
sure I'm pretty sure yeah, is my voice clear and anything? Am I
Yeah.
lagging
I
out
can
or
hear you.
anything?
I can hear you.
Am I lagging out or anything?
You were lagging for a bit, but now you're fine.
All right, yeah. So I was saying, I think Steve Bruce is on his 999th game. The next one he plays will be his 1000th, and I think that will be his last. That should be his farewell. Because like
Yeah.
we've seen it several times that okay, first of all, nothing against Steve Bruce, but what the point of them taking over as the club is to compete for everything, whether be it
Yeah.
Champions League, Premier League,
Yeah.
FA Cup. They'll be the next Man City if things go right for them on the pitch at least.
Hmm.
They might even do better than with them
I
considering
think
the
off pitch they
financial
have a
backings.
better chance of they have a chance of doing better than Man City, like the whitewashing, the sports washing they want to do, because
Yeah.
like Manchester at least has two clubs, so the community work and stuff like that. Like like Newcastle doesn't. Like Sunderland is there,
Hmm.
but Sunderland, first of all, location wise, Sunderland is it's a different part of the city. It's kind of outside the city.
Yeah.
Like those are two different cities basically. So
Plus, it's not
Newcastle
in the
has its
Premier
own
League.
thing and Sunderland has its own thing. Like they have both have huge. So the community thing and the stuff like that, like they can do so much there, and it will be such a great way of sports washing things.
Hmm.
Yeah. So okay,
Yeah.
let's get back to Steve Bruce. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Bruce. I'm not seeing him lasting at all. So I think they let him play his 1,000th game because out of respect and everything, he's been there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
My second question to you would be: I'm pretty sure you agree Steve Bruce is staying. Who do you think is coming in? Who do you think they're bringing?
Well, I think first of all, coming back to the Steve Bruce argument, what's the point of getting rid of him now? Like, what will it do? Like, you're not competing for anything this season. The squad is not there. The squad isn't in place. You will take, this is a developmental cycle. This will take a couple of years for you to build. So I don't really see much point of getting rid of Steve Bruce so early. Yeah, you will get rid of him eventually. But what's the harm in, until unless you have somebody else in mind who you want to bring in and give him half a season to get in charge of the squad, get a feel of the place, get a feel of what you're trying to do, and try and set clear objectives. Like basically start, if you want to start planning now, that's fine. But if you want to come in, take a look at how things are going, what's right, what's wrong, then I wouldn't touch management, at least for now. I will give them at least 3-4 months. Okay, do what you want. Do like we'll back you for now. You know you're not going to last long in this. We both know this. You're temporarily in charge here, because obviously they are big owners, they are rich owners, they have the money. They will back the club with the money. They will back them with the checkbook. So even in a management sense, they'll pay. So I think
I
temporarily,
agree
why
with you
not?
somewhat, but I think they have Steven Gerrard in mind. So if the whole
Oh,
season
okay.
he doesn't last, I think maybe in the January transfer window they'll have a complete transformation. Maybe they'll get in.
Yeah, like something like that. Like that makes sense to me. Yeah, like they'll get in a
Like
couple
that
of players in
happens.
Jan. Definitely. That was
Yeah,
going
I
to be
think
my next
'cause
question.
if
Tell me which
I'm
players.
if I'm not wrong, aren't they 19th in the table already? They need to make changes.
Fair enough.
They
Actually.
need to make
Yeah.
They need to make
Yeah.
changes. They can't
Yeah.
wait till next season.
Yeah,
What
they
if they're
can't get
not in the Premier
relegated. You're
League?
right. I don't
I think
expect them to get relegated. That's the thing.
yeah,
Like I didn't expect them to. That's all.
I don't see that happening because I think Saint Maximin and Callum Wilson when he's back should be a
Callum
good
will
duo
even
to at
reasonable
least.
squad, dude. It's not a completely terrible squad. It's
Yeah, exactly.
there are good players. Like
And
I'm a huge fan of Miguel Almiron. I think he's really good and he does a lot of work for you. Like I thought he
yeah,
was going to be like a flair player, like a kind of like a not a James Rodriguez, but in the same mold. Like on the ball, he'll do a lot of things. You'll have to engage him kind of player. But no, Miguel Almiron does a lot more work off the ball than on the ball, actually. So
yeah, I've seen his dedication and everything. It was
yeah,
hard work.
good,
And yeah, I
good.
agree
These
with
are
that.
good set of players. I think. I'm turning my opinion a bit into your favor. I think they will have to get rid of Steve Bruce because the being 19th also is precarious. And like even though if one team
Exactly.
is getting relegated, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Plus, I think they haven't exactly been bad. Like I've seen them put a few decent performances and they've won hard-fought draws, whether be it against any club and everything.
Yeah.
Against United, they got unlucky and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've not played extremely bad. And okay, so before we get into the players who you think they'll sign in January, why not talk about the players who are in the current squad who will still stay there and will still be a part of the future?
Well,
Who do
the
you think's
obvious
there?
one we have to go for
Saint
is
Maximin.
Saint Maxima. Like there is no doubt
Yeah.
he's not going anywhere. He is their
Bro,
linchpin. He's their talisman. And this year he looks better than ever. He looks really good and he's playing consistently. So
yeah, that's the best part. I think the consistency was missing in the previous few seasons, like the dribbling
there's some guys like I think Newcastle have good experience with some of these mercurial guys. Like Hatem Ben Arfa was amazing for them. Like
yeah, I remember that.
Like sometimes, and they've had the best version of that. Like I wouldn't call basically one man leading the club. Alan Shearer was not mercurial, but Alan Shearer was a one-man army for this team. This team was good at a lot of points, but with Shearer, There, most of the time it was the Shearer show, and Shearer was getting them to whatever position they were getting in the table and whatever battles they were having in the club. So Newcastle have a history of having players who are leading the charge for you, and it's a one-man show most of the time. So
Makes
okay,
sense. So I think
let's get into
there's
the
Saint Maximin.
yeah.
There's
Okay,
I think Joe Willock will also be a
yeah.
good part because they have
Hmm.
signed him recently and like he
Hmm.
showed promise last season. He's won over the fans. He's not gained the form as of now, but I think
Hmm.
he's getting there.
Hmm.
As Newcastle themselves aren't exactly in form, so you can't
Yeah, yeah.
expect
Fair enough.
a
Yeah.
young player at that age. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think he's there. I I don't see many other players take like maybe the keeper. I like Darlow. Yeah, he
Yeah.
hasn't played that much, but I like Darlow. I like his
I like
performances
the
and
other one also. I like Freddie Woodman also. I think he's pretty good. Like,
everything.
especially for Swansea, he was pretty good when he was there. And then there is, I think the defenders, a couple of them will stay. I don't know if they'll be starters like Lascelles and all these guys. Like they are,
Yeah,
they've
it's a
been there
bit
for a
weird.
long time. So obviously, a lot of these guys will be there. But
They have been playing midfielders in defense this season, which is
yeah,
quite a bit weird, and it's not exactly
it's
working
not
out.
exactly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah.
So I think they'll need to. I think the first thing they'll focus on will be getting defenders in the transfer window.
Maybe, yeah, I think so. Yeah,
And
because Manquillo has played reasonably well this year. I think Matt Ritchie is left back. So Matt
yeah,
Ritchie,
Matt
but
Ritchie is
yeah,
there.
that's not the best case scenario of left back being Matt Ritchie. Like he's a good
Even
squad option, but
Manquillo
he shouldn't be
isn't.
your starter.
Same goes for Manquillo. He's been there for a while
Yeah,
and
I think
everything, but I
yeah,
don't
fair
think
enough.
he'll stick
Yeah,
around for that.
it's not an amazing squad by any chance, but it has some good, interesting pieces. That's what it is. And okay, so okay, like you said, defenders they'll bring in. So in January, who do you think they'll like? Because they'll go for a couple of splashy signings also. Like they'll put in money in a couple of places. Who do you think is going to be the splashy defender they go for? Who will be
So
available?
now we have to look at like we also have to think from a point of view that they can't sign a Messi or Ronaldo because it's not that they need the money and everything. They need a
No,
player who
you'll
is
have to
fine.
look for players who are not happy with their current environment, most likely,
Yeah,
or too good for it and young, like something like that. Like you'll
yeah.
have to, you can't go and
Like
look
they
for
have.
Messi's and like somebody like a Coutinho was suggested. Coutinho would be
I can see Coutinho happening. I can
because
see Coutinho happening.
because it sounds like the perfect signing for when you don't really care about the football and you just want something to show off, like a toy. If you're buying a
Even in
toy in football
if
sense, I think
if
Coutinho
you
is the
think
best
about
option
it,
out there. Hmm.
if you think about it, even Isco and Asensio are there. I don't think they're
Yeah,
exactly happy at
yeah.
Real Madrid.
I don't think
They're good
Isco. I
options
don't
there.
think Isco is going to go to Newcastle. Like if Isco wanted to leave, I think Isco would have left.
He would have left this, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
because I think he wants to be very particular with where he goes. If it's not at Real
Hmm.
Madrid, I think that's why. I think Isco. I'm not too sure Isco is going to be the guy.
I
Asensio,
think
you
in
never know.
defenders, I think
Yeah,
in defenders, they
yeah.
might
That's the thing.
be able
Finding
to get.
flashy defenders is a bit of an issue in itself. Like,
I think Skriniar is a good shout if Real Madrid don't eye him up. Maybe in January if they
that
can
is a
make
good
a
one.
good
Yeah, I like that.
shot.
I like that.
I think Skriniar will also have the leadership abilities and everything. He could be the main
Leadership
head of the
abilities.
defense and
He's not
everything.
exactly a perfect fit at Inter. Also, last year especially, he wasn't playing too many games. Like it was
Yeah,
a
but I think he
bit.
could turn it around in
Oh
Newcastle.
no,
Maybe.
I'm not doubting Skriniar's abilities. It's just sometimes the player doesn't fit the club. Sometimes it just happens. It's okay.
Makes
It's not the
sense.
end of the world. Like that's part of the game. Like sometimes look at maybe okay. I'm not going to use that particular example, but like look at maybe Tuchel at PSG or something like that. Like or like
Yeah, makes
Pochettino at
sense.
PSG right now. Just great manager, great players. Fit just doesn't sit. Like even though Tuchel did a lot better than with PSG than Pochettino has done till now, but yeah.
I mean, have I guess you're right at some point, but I think he's getting the results which was
Oh,
required.
it's an imperfect example at the best of times. If you give me like
Yeah.
3-4 minutes, then I'll actually be able to think. But like at
All
the
right, all
tip
right.
of my
Makes
tongue, that's
sense.
the example. Oh, dude, if you've talked to me for like 15 minutes, like you would realize I'm a huge Poch guy. Like I think
Yeah. I remember
you
that.
know, yeah,
I
like
remember.
no, just for the people who are watching because it's a podcast. So like yeah, I'm
Yeah.
big fan of Pochettino. You knew that. I know that you know. So
I think you also like Tottenham as a side after Manchester
I love
United.
Pochettino's Tottenham. I loved them.
Yeah.
Like they were my second team. Like no doubt about it. I was like in the Champions League final also. I was a big in the corner. Like but the problem is that For me, it's a very conflicted final, if you ask me. Like now, just give me. Let's
I
talk a
couldn't
minute
have
about.
asked anything more out of that final. If you understand, I just love that they lost the game within 10 minutes. It was the
Yeah,
most
yeah, yeah.
Tottenham thing to happen.
Oh
But yeah,
no, but
that's a
for me,
different story.
it was kind of like one side it's Klopp, the other side it's Pochettino. Like it's the two men I love most in this game, and they were pitted
But I
against each
think
other. It's a very hard place to choose for me to choose
I
there.
think I think United have bad blood with Liverpool because of the
I couldn't
rivalries
give a
they
shit
had.
about that.
Makes
Like
sense, makes sense.
I've
That's fair
talked
enough.
about this before. Like if I go to England, the first stadium I want to go and visit is Anfield because I think Anfield's magic. There is magic
Fair
there.
enough, fair enough.
Okay, but it's just like I couldn't give a shit about the Manchester Liverpool rivalry or anything. Jurgen Klopp is my favorite manager. That was before he came to Liverpool, and that still stands. So
All right, fair
yeah,
enough. Getting back to Newcastle.
yeah.
So defenders, I think the second option they can take is scout from the lower half
Samuel
of
Umtiti might
Premier
be an
League.
option, honestly.
Or he's always there. I guess that's there. But I think maybe in the transfer window for January, not even the summer. I think in January they might
Hmm.
just even look at a Tarkowski or a Bentley or someone from the lower half of the Premier League. They
Maybe,
might just
yeah,
get them in.
yeah.
And even
Why
even
not?
they would be like, okay, this should be an upgrade because the squad is promising, the
Hmm.
money is there and everything.
Hmm.
I guess Tarkowski can do well at Newcastle. I don't see any reason for not
Yeah,
working
it
out.
could work. It could work. Why? There is no reason for it not to work. Also, like because
Exactly.
player fits also like Newcastle. Like the thing with Newcastle is you're not sure how they're going to play, and whoever comes in, it's not going to be like there's the first manager they bring in is like a Pep Guardiola or a Marcelo
Oh yeah,
Bielsa with a very particular requirement for defenders or something like that. I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be a high-profile manager, but the chances of it being a very philosophy-based defense, like focused particularly on defenders playing out the back. Like Tarkowski can do that, but he's not the best at it. That's the only thing. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I think the manager, I think they're gonna get Gerard maybe in January or next summer, and but he'll be on thin ice. Even though he's being brought in, he'll be on thin ice, like, okay, you have a year to do
I don't
all
think
this.
Gerrard
If you
would come
can't,
if he was on thin ice. Like he has absolute liberty to do whatever the fuck he wants at Rangers. Like he won
I
them that
guess
trophy, that trophy that they've been looking for. Like it's similar to last Decima. What La Decima meant to Real Madrid. That trophy, the league that they won last year under Steven Gerrard, is that
Hmm.
for Rangers.
Fair
We
enough.
don't
I guess
understand because we don't watch Scottish football much. Last year was historic in many, many ways. Like, I'm not going to get into this. That's a topic for another day. We should discuss this rivalry because it's one of the best rivalries in the world. It's actually the
Yeah.
biggest football rivalry in the world, in my opinion. But yeah, like it was a huge deal, and Steven Gerrard has so much love from Rangers fans and from the Rangers board and everything. And I don't know, but Newcastle can't. If Newcastle get him in, they get him in as the man, like the way Liverpool got in Klopp, or the way kind of the way what do you call it, Pep and Man City. Like you get him and he's the man. He is going to
Alright,
be
fair
your you are invested in him, kind of like that. So
Makes sense. I guess
yeah.
that's there. So maybe let's get to the real exciting part now.
Hmm.
Mbappe, Haaland, do you see them coming to Newcastle?
No,
You don't
No.
see that happening.
not at
Are
all.
you sure?
Yeah,
It sounds like a dream, but now the takeover is completed. It can happen.
dude. Like just look at the way people are reacting to this. Do you think Haaland or Mbappe would want to cause problems for their sponsorships and their money and like endorsement deals and everything that is involved with that? Why would you go
Don't
to
you think
Newcastle?
they'll get paid more? They'll
Yeah,
get
you
paid
can
as
throw
much as they want.
you can throw an infinite amount of money, but I think if it was an infinite amount of money, Mbappe would not have looked to move to Real Madrid. Like PSG can throw infinite money at him. Like what's stopping them from? It's not about the money. I think even for Haaland, I'm not sure if it's about the money as much. And anyways, like if these two come to Newcastle, like what will they have to play with? Like they won't drag them to even the FA Cup. You can't even win the FA Cup just because you put Mbappe into the squad of complete randoms. Like compared to
obviously,
Mbappe, they're all randoms, aren't they?
I think Mbappe and Haaland won't be their first signings. I think they'll build a squad.
Yeah, that's the
like
thing.
Or they might
That's
even get them first, and then they'll build a squad around them, which suits them for an FA Cup.
I would do the opposite. I would be like do what Arsenal did this summer. Something like that would be my mentality. I would be like,
Alright.
go in young and go in for players that you can develop, build a core. Like it's these are very simple terms in basketball. It's called rebuilding. You rebuild the squad. Like it's a very, like it's used in a very particular sense, the term. Like you pick up from the draft. Like we don't obviously have drafts in football and stuff like that. So you target young players, players who have shown you either statistically or through performances or whatever, like the
Florian
packages.
Wirtz.
They will not be able to afford Florian Wirtz. There is no way they'll be able to afford Florian
Afford?
Wirtz.
I think he
No
might not
way.
be. He won't. come,
Florian
but he
Wirtz will
can-
cost
they
more
can-
than Kai Havertz, I'm telling you.
That's not the problem though, right? It's not the money now.
Florian
problem. I
Wirtz,
think
they're
if
not.
he doesn't-
No. Florian Wirtz, I think if I had to predict where Florian Wirtz is going, he's going to Bayern Munich. And from what I've seen from about,
I guess that happens.
like even
That
Kai
makes
Havertz,
sense,
if Kai
because-
Havertz was asked to join Chelsea, I think would have joined Newcastle last year when they had been taken over. I think Kai Havertz would have said no. I think you have to build the squad around first, and then you get in superstar kids and stuff like that. I'm not asking for, like, look at Arsenal signings. Are any of them superstars? No, none of them are. And that's kind of the point. You don't have to invest all the time in superstars. You don't need a Ronaldo. You don't need a Sancho. You don't need a Varane all the time. I'm not against any of those signings, by the way. Just example, okay?
Oh, obviously, because United already have a core that they can go and sign.
Yes,
superstars.
exactly. You build the core first. You build, and like look at the core that United have. Like the core was built through Marcus Rashford and Jesse Lingard and like Mason Greenwood and Harry Maguire was one of the big ones they brought in to form that core. And De Gea was already there. Pogba was there from previous administration. Like you build a core first. Like it's not the perfect. United is not a perfect core. I'm not endorsing that core at all.
Obviously,
That's
but they
the
did
point
need
is
more
that
squad
you
players.
build a score first and then you attract big name players. The big name players will come once you build the squad around them for them to perform at their best. Every team has to, like, especially a team which is getting new money injected into it. And that's the thing that Newcastle have to keep in mind. They have to have a plan. If you don't have a plan now, because like now that we've accepted that this thing is happening, may as well discuss it as another football club, right? Like we've acknowledged what the problems are. We'll keep on discussing with the problems with what has happened. But like just looking at it as a football team,
we're not in support of the takeover, but
but
it is what it is. And now we're just talking about the
we're just talking
possibilities of
about
how
football.
Newcastle
Yes.
can work.
Yeah. So
now
you
it's-
build
now
your
it's
score.
not about politics.
Yeah. You build your core, and now you have a plan. That's mainly what I think they need to do. Have a plan, try and execute it. If it fails, it fails. If it works, it works. There is no guarantees in football ever. So just have a plan and employ people who can execute your plan. Like that's what you have to look at. They have to start from the top. And from what I understand, there are a good few pieces that they have. Like the assistant manager to Steve Bruce, he's supposed to be really, really good. He's supposed to be really good. Like everybody who's talked about him has talked about him very positively. And even tactically, it's suggested that a lot of the tactics don't even come from Steve Bruce. They come from, I'm forgetting his name. I apologize, but he's supposed to be really good.
Makes sense. That's fair.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough about Newcastle for today. Let's get on to the new topic that you've been waiting for almost 2 weeks.
Another club in complete
Barcelona.
dysfunction. Let's go. Yeah.
It's like a similar situation, but $400 billion less. That's it. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Oof. Oh, there is so much short-term pain at this club. So much pain. I mean, yeah, I've been wanting to discuss this for a while now, and good thing that it's progressed, because it becomes more interesting by the day. Because first of all, okay, I want to start with the manager. I want to start with everything that goes around him. Okay. First thing I want to talk about it is relationship with the president. Okay. It is so obviously made clear to us that Koeman is not going to be in this job long term. And they've not even tried to hide it. They've done such a terrible job of hiding this that it's so obvious. I mean, they don't, like, Koeman has admitted in public that they don't talk to each other.
It's just like he's told that if he's like, okay, if you win the league or if you do something amazing with the squad that you have, then we'll talk. Otherwise,
if you turn water into wine, then we'll talk. Like basically, that's what Koeman's been told to do. I mean,
exactly. Even he's given up at this point. I'm sure he's
What
not
else
aiming
would
for
you
the
do,
title.
man? Like I don't know. I'm not going to say he's not made mistakes. Okay, let's start from the like. Let's pull back a bit. Let's go to Bartomeu and let's see. Like, let's just discuss how badly this club has been put in a situation. Like, what a complicated and horrible situation the club has been put in financially. I mean, they were throwing money out like anything. Like, this was going to happen regardless of the pandemic. The pandemic just
For sure. This
stabbed them,
had barely an effect.
skewered them. Yeah.
It
I
was like
mean,
the final piece. It was the final stab after 8 stabs already received. Like it was
yeah,
coming.
like kind of like the
Even if the
last stab to
pandemic hit.
Caesar kind of thing, right? Like the Brutus one. Like
Exactly.
everybody's already
was
stabbed him. Just the last one, the last one that hurts the most. Yeah.
Yeah, Barca was already dead. It was going to die. Maybe
Yeah,
not this
yeah,
year.
yeah.
Maybe they could have kept Messi another year. But
Yeah.
it was going to happen if the pandemic didn't happen. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I have
especially if
this
they were
question.
going to try and keep like this kind of situation was going to happen. Like just clarify, like they would have had to had that dip because if Messi was there, they were obviously going to try and compete and they were going to scrounge money from somewhere or the other to try and put in
Yeah.
so that they can give Messi a squad to compete with. But this was going to happen the day Messi left the club, that they will have to reset. And the reset is what's going on. And I think like even as much as Bartomeu was a completely inept at his job basically, but the guys who have come in after him like Laporta doesn't look much better. Maybe the situation is that bad that he doesn't look better, or I don't know what it is. What do you think?
I think it's the second thing. Because a lot of Barcelona fans stand with Laporta.
Yeah.
And they have his complete backing. They understand.
He has a track record also, I believe, right? He's done this before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's trusted. So he has pulled them out of crisis before. That's why there's the faith there. At least the president is all right and everything's going to be fine. Maybe not this year. Maybe not even the next year.
Yeah.
But things are going to return to the good thing. Also, one more question to Barca fans. Do you guys miss Valverde now? I read he had only 7 losses in 2 league seasons. 7 losses. These guys are so posh and petty that they wanted Valverde out, even though he was doing the best he had.
Well, the squad was very different at the time. I think in defense of the Barca fans who were screaming for Valverde, like that was a completely different.
Do you think Koeman would have had 7
losses? Oh, Koeman and Valverde are not in the same breath of managers. I'm not saying that. Like that's not the point. Like the point I'm trying to make is that why people were angry at that point of time. Like the football wasn't great.
The fan base is too spoiled. The fan base.
Oh yeah, they still are. They are expecting things of Koeman that is just not possible. Like, I mean, like there are so many such obvious holes in this squad. Like they barely have a central defense. Like they have to get in like Araujo. Like nobody knew anything about him. He's been great. Gavi has been great. The guys who are coming in, the young players who are coming in are great. Like they've turned up with an accidental set of La Masia graduates who were not even expected to be good. Ansu Fati was well endorsed. He was expected to be good. But a lot of these guys who have Araujo was not expected to be good. Like the guys who are advertised to be good, like Ricky Puig and all that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think I have this one question though. Like, if you realize the La Masia has always been good, it's just that they're getting their chances again now. If you look pre-Pep era, so many La Masia graduates were there. And then at some point of time, they were just obsessed with signing superstars who just didn't work out. And the La Masia graduates weren't getting their chances. That's why Eric Garcia left. That's why Adama Traore left. So many players have. Okay,
but the level of success that those guys have had is not even close to the
I'm
originals.
not saying that. That's not my point. But Eric Garcia
they're producing players. Right? Yes, yeah.
They were producing players forever. It's just that they're getting the chances now because they're forced to get the chances. They don't have any other options. I mean, it is the La Masia it's the La Masia Academy. Like it's one of the best in the world.
Yeah,
that's always been a fact. Their training wouldn't have dropped because they were going through financial crisis. I think I wouldn't have been surprised. I'm just seeing that why weren't they used before? Because they had money that time. They had to sign Dembele for 160 million after 2 good seasons or 1 good season at Dortmund, not looking into his injury status and anything. They had to sign Griezmann only to get, I think, the Griezmann transfer. It just makes me laugh.
Let's not just get into the details of what happened. Actually, this is the perfect time to get into the details.
Exactly.
They gave away Luis Suarez. Like they got in Griezmann for whatever amount of money, like 80 million, 90 million, or whatever they paid.
120 million. They
120
actually
million,
robbed.
whatever.
They robbed Atletico for 180. It was supposed to be 180, but they got him for 120. All right.
Yeah, they
Fair enough.
supposedly robbed him. Then
Yeah.
they next year they gave Suarez back to them. Okay.
Yes.
Then they, I think
Then they gave.
did it send another player? Did another player go to Atletico or no? I don't think so.
I think that was. I think you've confused Marcus Llorente from Real Madrid to Atletico.
No, yeah,
Maybe.
fair, fine, yeah. So then they give Griezmann back to Atletico for a cut price fee, and I think they're still paying some of his wages or something. Like it's a 2-year loan
they've-
with an option to buy or something, right?
Yeah, a 2-year loan and then an option to buy for 40 million. They said it's
Yeah,
compulsory.
that's the number. Yes. And how
I
much of
think
the
they-
wages are they paying? Well, how much are Barcelona paying the wages? Are they paying? Is Atletico paying all the wages?
I'm pretty sure they're not. And even if Barca are only paying 30%, if you know how high Griezmann's wages were, that's still
Yeah.
costing them a fuck ton
Yeah,
if he's
yeah,
not even playing for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, like Suarez cost them a fuck ton of money when he went and won the title with the team that you sold him
my
to.
God.
I mean,
That's where one place where I hold Koeman responsible for anything. Like, okay, you don't have the best squad. You let go Luis Suarez over a phone call of 40 seconds. You
letting go
disrespected-
Suarez isn't even the problem here. Like that's again on Barcelona. That's not on. I don't think that's Koeman. Like Koeman has behaved inappropriately and incorrectly in a lot of, like the call that you're talking about, that is just fucked up. Like that's all kinds of fucked up. I mean, you couldn't spare more than 40 seconds for one of the best players of the last decade for this club, and you're supposed to
Exactly.
understand the club. This guy was brought in to understand, right? This guy was brought in to understand exactly what Barcelona mentality and like he's supposed to be one of the greatest players ever. And this is the bullshit you're putting fucking 40 seconds for Luis Suarez. I mean, are you kidding me?
just-
I don't even like
it's
Luis
just
Suarez, and I've
amazing.
given him at least half an hour to tell him what I was thinking of.
Exactly. He's
so
not my favorite
stupid.
player, but I know he's one of the best strikers of this generation, of the last
Not
10
even,
years.
like,
There's no doubt there.
Doesn't matter. Like, just look at it from Barcelona's perspective. He was one of the best players for you when you were winning everything. And you should have you weren't there at the club, but you were obviously, you've been a big part, like, you've been a big ambassador for the club, and you've been a big supporter of the club, especially because you were a player for them and everything. And you came in to manage because it was your dream and everything. I mean, 40 seconds, man. You couldn't spare 40 seconds. What were you doing? Are you the accountant for the club as well, that you were counting the money that they don't have? I mean, what's going on?
It's just so
And then
ridiculous.
selling him to Atletico, yeah, in defense of Koeman, like the decision to sell him to Atletico Madrid was not Koeman's. Obviously, it wasn't. And
Oh, obviously, I guess that's
why would
there,
you
but
sell him to Atletico? Why? Like, just take more
I
of a
just
loss and
don't-
send him anywhere in the world. Like, and somebody would have taken him for a small cut price wage. Like, they were trying to send him to Juventus or something, like send him to Italy. I mean, why Atletico? You could have waited a bit. I mean, that was such a
I just
stupid move
don't
to make.
understand why they had to sell him also. I guess when they said he had a bad season, he was still had 20 goals even though he was injured. I didn't see any dip in his performance when he was playing for Barcelona. Heck, he was one of the bright spots against Bayern Munich. He sent the whole defense. You
Yeah.
can't let go of him. And okay, did they replace him with someone better?
Yeah, that was not it. I think it's a wage thing. Like that, all those decisions were completely wage based. Like they just had to cut the numbers. It was
Yes,
a complete
I'm-
financial move, but still selling him to Atletico was still stupid. Like
Anywhere in the world. Like, I understand how Coutinho came and bit them back in the Champions League. Okay, they wouldn't have thought that much through.
did he though?
that
Did
no
he? Like, let's be honest. He scored the fucking 7th goal of an 8-2 defeat. Coutinho had
All
very
right, he
little to do with Bayern
Okay.
Munich winning that game. He just
was still a
addressed
humiliation.
how bad Barcelona have done. Like, he wasn't an asset to Bayern as much as he was a liability. He was a symbol of how poorly this club has handled itself in the last few years. It was
It's just-
symbolism more than anything, I thought.
I guess that's that. But yeah, like, why did the only have you seen what God Squad Atletico have assembled now because of the free players they're getting in
Yeah.
from their own rivals? Thinking that, oh, these players aren't good enough for us.
Yeah,
then
you're
they're
right,
becoming
actually,
the
yeah.
world best.
They've got a ridiculous forward line. They have too many players in the forward line. Like, I thought United had a lot too many players on the forward line. Check out what Atletico Madrid have got.
Carrasco, Angel Correa, Griezmann, Suarez. They can play 4 of them separately and still win
You
the game.
forgot
They
the
don't
most
even have to
expensive of
play-
the lot.
Oh, sorry, Yao Felix. He's a bit out of form, so I didn't take his name compared to
Yeah.
these 4 right now.
Well, he was
Like,
good against
Yao
Barcelona.
Felix-
I'm very happy about that.
Oh, for sure. I think Yao
Yeah.
Felix is going to bite Barcelona and Real Madrid maybe 3-4 years down the line if he sticks around. Maybe not right
Yeah.
now. I guess maybe even earlier, but yeah.
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Even that midfield, Rodrigo De Paul, there's how many? It's just it's a really good squad.
Oh, it's a ridiculous team with a huge load of players who are like there are going to be
From their
problems
own
because they're
fucking league.
Atletico Madrid. They won't make it easy. I don't know if they're going to win the league also because Real Madrid look pretty
yeah.
good.
But I guess Real Madrid have fallen short a few places, like in recent times. Maybe the last
Yeah.
2-3 weeks they haven't looked as good they were.
Yeah, that's
Like,
the thing.
that-
It's not even how good Real Madrid have been. It's like Real Madrid are being carried by Benzema. Like we knew before when they were trying to sign Mbappe, we knew there are huge holes in the squad. Like defense was a problem, I thought. Midfield is
I think
like,
defense
however
is still
good-
a problem.
how good Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro have been as a combination. 2 of them are losing legs. As we speak, they are losing legs. And like I'm not trying to disrespect anyone, but you can't expect a 75-year-old Pele to come and burn the ground playing football, right? The same way you can't
Also-
expect like a 37-year-old Luka Modric to be at his best every game.
Exactly. Plus,
Not
even if
possible.
I'm not saying Camavinga and Valverde aren't good players. They're not exactly filling the roles of Kroos and Modric, are they? You
And
can't play
they're
Camavinga.
like
Valverde
Camavinga is
and
18 years
Casemiro.
old. He's 18 years
Exactly.
old.
He's not supposed to be your starter.
No,
he
he
wasn't
can
brought in
start
to
for you,
start.
but the team's expectations automatically go down when, especially
Oh,
at
obviously,
Real
like-
Madrid. However good Camavinga is, it's an 18-year-old kid who's moved to a 18-year-old French kid who's moved to Spain. Okay, Spain is a complicated place to live for any black person, as far as I understand. Okay,
Yeah, I think there was a racist comment made the first day he came. And the
It's-
person was
it's-
arrested.
it just is
So-
like I wasn't even thinking about the football terms, dude. From like I have I've been living in
you
Ireland
have
for
to
the past 3 years. You get some of these ideas as to which countries are safe and not, especially from a tourist
Obviously.
perspective. Also, Spain is not supposed to be very safe. So
Also, the thing is, it wasn't even a fan or it wasn't even after performance. The guy was just wearing a black suit. And this one reporter, female reporter in the Spanish media, I'm pretty sure you read about this. She made a comment on that. And she got arrested, rightly so. The guy didn't even do anything wrong. Like, okay, I'm not saying it's the right thing, but there is one situation where a fan disses Marcus Rashford for missing the penalty in the final. And there is one situation for Edward Camavinga just signing for the club and just simply wearing a black suit and coming onto TV.
yeah. Well,
How's
yeah,
that? It's
there
just,
is a.
It's just crazy.
I get your point. Like basically that in the heat of the moment, you can still kind of accept that, even though
Not
obviously it's
accept it.
like at
You
least
can't accept it, but you can
Yeah.
understand it.
yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
can
yeah, I
understand
think
how it happened.
Yeah. You
But
made
that
your
was
point.
just-
Yeah, I got it. Yeah,
It's just
Yeah.
fucking stupid. I don't get it. But yeah, moving on.
yeah, because it's a
Let's
much more
get-
deliberate thought when you're talking about like a black man wearing a black suit in a press conference. Like there
He
is,
didn't even do anything. Exactly.
yeah. There's a lot more deliberation in the comment that lady made. Yeah. I didn't even know about
Exactly.
this. So yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
it was really. It was on the news and everything, and it's good
Yeah,
that
yeah.
she got arrested. Like,
Yeah.
whether be it a man or gender doesn't matter. If you're racist, you're supposed to be inside there.
Oh yeah.
Alright.
We are not. Let's not assume that comment is anti-women somehow. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
not the point.
obviously, nothing like that. There's nothing
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Moving on.
I mean-
Let's take a look at Barcelona's current squad. And
Yeah,
is it as bad as it looks? Because I seriously am of the belief that, okay, the forwards are still pretty good. It's just that most of them are injured. Because Martin Braithwaite had a good start to the season. He's always been underrated. Like, he's not even buying his own, hype from the media and that he's the GOAT.
well,
That's jokes apart.
first things first. Let's clarify the first thing. Martin Braithwaite does not play striker for any team now. He plays off the right wing, like kind of the way
Yeah.
guys being started.
I said forwards. I didn't mean to like call him a
Oh no,
striker or
I'm not.
anything.
I'm not. He was a striker. He was a striker when
Yeah,
he
he
came to
was
the
a
club.
striker
I'm not.
before.
I'm not saying anything about what you said. Like Like just for clarification, even for Denmark, he plays off the wing now. Like he's got like the way Lukaku was
He's
playing for
pretty
Belgium
fast.
and United in the middle for a bit. Like there was a few games where they deployed Lukaku off the right wing because they were trying to take advantage of some particular situations and matchups and stuff like that. Like you play
Makes
him off the
sense.
wing to like kind of a bit as a decoy sometimes, and a bit as when you're able to do a reasonable link up play. He was obviously an inside forward kind of thing. Not even that. It is just a weird position to put in a player, like just to fuck with the opposition marking schemes and everything like that. I think
Even
that's what
the thing
purpose
is,
was.
Braithwaite is actually quite a decent player, and he's extremely fast, so he can.
He
operate
always
from the
was.
wing.
He was not a Barcelona player. He wasn't a Barcelona player. Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the only problem. It is that he's not a Barcelona player. He doesn't have 50 million followers on Instagram or social media or something. He's not a brand. That's the only problem.
No, but even for like, look at the score. Like for what they wanted at the time, he was not the answer. So
yeah,
the people having problems with Martin Braithwaite is fine, but yeah, you can't. Like the signing was incorrect. Martin Braithwaite was not incorrect. Martin Braithwaite got an opportunity to play for Barcelona. If you were given a check to sign for a chance to sign for Barcelona for 0, like I would take that. Like why wouldn't you?
Obviously,
like, just to sit on that bench, like why wouldn't you do that? Like even though you
who knew?
Like, even if I put it, go and like play a game and absolutely suck and I get horrendous abuse for it, why wouldn't you? It's Barcelona. It's like the biggest dream for anybody.
Makes sense. I think moving on, there's Martin Braithwaite's there. I think Sergio Aguero, when he's back from injury, he should be a good player. He should have a great influence on Fati. Fati's going to be amazing. He's showing his potential, and I think he looks great when he's back. Memphis Depay, one of the most underrated players from last season. Like even though he is rated, he is not rated as good as he should have been, considering the goal contributions he got last season.
Yeah, well, the team didn't really do well last year, but whatever.
Yeah, I guess
he played well. Yeah. Maybe it was a Salah and Liverpool situation last year, or maybe it's just you score a lot of goals, but it doesn't really help the team, like the way I think Ronaldo plays. But
yeah, maybe that's there. And I'm not going to speak much about Dembele. He's still on the stretches. He hasn't played a game this season. He's all right when he plays. For a cursed career. And then Luke De Jong. That I just have no comments on that player.
No, we are not talking about Luke De Jong. There is nothing to say. Absolutely nothing to say. Like
I really gave him the benefit of the doubt that okay, I don't follow La Liga so much. He must have done something.
We can't do anything anymore, man. Why would you do
that? He had 4 goals last season.
Like what? He was third striker for Sevilla. I mean, are you kidding me? I didn't want to talk about Luke De Jong and all. Like that's just made no sense at all. Like I mean, what are you doing? Like literally ask a milkman or somebody. Like just pick somebody off the street of Barcelona and put him in the squad. Why don't you? Like what was the point? What does it?
There wasn't even a need. Like I get the Martin Braithwaite situation where they had a worry of Luis Suarez injury. They need someone out there.
Yeah.
What was the need? What was the need for Luke De Jong?
I mean, don't you have a Barcelona B player or somebody that you could have given a chance instead, or like keep another player, keep one of the midfielders or something that you sent out and like try and play them in a winger role or something. Like you could play around with it so much, dude. Like that's the thing when you have a Barcelona academy to play with. Like you can play with so many different things. There are so many different things you can try and do. And for Koeman's perspective, I think this is a complete free chit. Like just try and just because of the fact that you're trying to make different things fit and like try and inculcate as many youth players as possible into this program. And like the way Frank Lampard did at Chelsea, he gave the youth players, the academy players a chance, and they delivered for him. Like one guy started delivering for them so much, he became better and better and better and delivered for everybody he's ever played for. Everyone. Like that's the kind of players you can unearth with these academy systems. Like there was no way Chelsea would have gotten a Mason Mount kind of player in, because that's not the kind of profile they would have looked at as a player. Like
still would have been a derby if it wasn't for Frank Lampard. I'm pretty sure.
He would have been.
And if it wasn't for the transfer ban, I guess, yeah, you can.
Yeah, the transfer ban is a bigger contributor, but still, credit where credit is due. Frank Lampard did very well with the squad, and he really gave a lot of players a chance, and those players delivered for him. They were excellent players, and he saw that.
He set up a good goal. There's no denying that.
Yeah, he did.
Many of his players are still there.
I think that's why I think the way Chelsea did it, like maybe United aren't doing it the same way. They should have looked at the Chelsea approach and been like, okay, we go and we do this, then our transfer ban is lifted, and then we got an excellent players, and then Frank Lampard's job is instantly on the line, because you want results. The moment the situation changes, you want results. And Frank Lampard could not provide those results. Frank Lampard is gone. You bring in a manager who you know is more capable in terms of playing with a huge squad of playing with a squad of big players and achieving something with them.
Makes sense.
I think I think Chelsea did it really well. I don't agree with a lot of the way they treat their managers, but in this case, I think they did it really, really well.
Yeah,
and they found success. They found the Champions League.
I think just slightly getting back to the La Masia point, you've trusted it with your defenders, you've trusted with your midfielders, and they've worked excellent, especially in the midfield, like unparalleled. Even the defenders, as you said, Aranju and everything, I don't know how to pronounce his name or anything. They've done well. They've been great starters. Why would you try a striker for once? It's from the same academy. How bad can it be? How bad can it be that you have to get Sevilla's third backup striker just because you can, just because that's your wage budget or something? It's like the last.
I think there's a very clear Dutch connection also there.
Oh yeah, that too. But why? I guess the
Dutch connection. I think that's an important thing to bring up, because Koeman is like, Luke de Jong is somebody I played with. Let's just bring him in, because it was a free transfer anyways. You're not paying him a lot, but you're taking up a valuable squad space. The Luke de Jong is playing games where you can't play that academy player now. The option that you're talking about.
Exactly. He's stealing an academy player's spot, who's been working day and night for that spot, just for a short.
And whose career is ahead of him. I don't even like the day and night. Everybody is. Luke de Jong is putting in the effort, but Luke de Jong is done. His career is over. This is a rebuild. What's the point? Like, what's the point?
And the worst part is, next year they might even get back on financial terms, and the academy player still won't get his chance. And Luke de Jong would have wasted his whole year at Barcelona, or at least having the opportunity to play some games. It's sad, but you know what the worst thing is? The second this club is back to its financial stability, the academy players are again going to go to that period where there's just going to be academy players till Barcelona fuck up again, and then they get their chance.
But that's the thing. You can't do. I hope they learn. That's the biggest thing.
I really hope they do.
And I hope other clubs look at that and learn. Look at how disaster can strike. Especially teams like Manchester United and maybe even Arsenal and all these guys. Look at how badly it can go wrong if you just keep recklessly putting in money. I think Chelsea should really be careful about these things. If you start losing income instantaneously, just be careful as to how your club is able to fall back. And they have the ownership to be able to save them, but still, I think being prudent and running a club correctly is very, very important. I think that's a huge part of you have to take that into account. Please run financially viable clubs. Please, that is what that is what I want my owner to do. Make the club run on itself. It is not the club I support. It does the opposite. It puts money into the owner's pockets all the time. It's done the opposite. It's become a money-making machine for them.
It's Arsenal is the same here also. I guess they did spend I guess this season I can't really go out and blame them.
No. They spend the money, but it's not a. See, the problem is it's not just transfer money. It's not just money on the squad. You have to invest around it. And Arsenal, I think, have done a much better job than Manchester United about it. I mean, okay, we'll discuss this later, but I want to talk about this parallel between Arsenal and Manchester United and the way these two squads have similar ownership but are run differently, these two teams.
Yeah.
Okay? So we'll discuss this later. But getting back to Barcelona, I mean,
let's discuss the rumors now. I think, if I'm not sure if you read this, I don't think you're much of a rumor guy anyway, right? You're not one of those transfer rumors guy.
I don't care, no.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're planning to get Sterling on loan January.
Okay.
If that's possible. And I think they might, I'm not sure how soon they'll pay. I think it'll be a 1-year loan, and then they pay next year, January or something, next year. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's not our business anyways. Okay.
Do you think Barcelona, Sterling, will it work?
No. Why if I'm Raheem Sterling, why would I go to Barcelona? What's the point? What am I doing there? What am I achieving there? I don't think he likes Aguero that much that he's going to be willing to reunite with him
I'm sure the reason for him going won't be Aguero. I think it's Man City. He's not getting playtime. Foden is back. He's not exactly doing well for Manchester
why Barcelona
City
is the question. Him leaving is not the problem. The part of the question I have a problem with. Like that's not the part of the issue, the situation that my question is why Barcelona? Why would Raheem Sterling want to
How-
go there?
How many options does he have? How many people are in for the market for Raheem Sterling?
I'm pretty sure like any English club would be in the market for Raheem Sterling. There is no doubt about it in my mind.
But you have to compare, like, okay, even when Real Madrid were in a bad state, they were still fucking Real Madrid. Barcelona still holds that title. I think even Memphis
Yeah.
Depay said that they have been going through a few rough years.
Yeah, but Memphis
that doesn't
Depay
take
and
away
Raheem
the-
Sterling are two very different players who have approached their football careers very differently. Like
Obviously,
Raheem
but like,
Sterling has no interest in being the man, in my opinion. He just doesn't care about that thing. He has been like the problem is I have a reason to be able to explain why I'm saying Raheem Sterling doesn't. Because Raheem Sterling has been looked at as a black man for a long time in his career. Like he is like he didn't want to be, but he has been in the public image and in the public eye for various useless, irritating, and fucked up reasons for
oh
the
yeah, I
past
think the
50
Sun
10
has
years.
a lot of role in it. Yeah.
Yeah, like some of these tabloid newspapers, they have been fucking with him so much. Like Memphis Depay's problem has been that he's felt that he's never been acknowledged. And that's a
Wait,
fair thing to
so
feel. That's a personal
why-
life that he lived.
Wait, like what you said. So why wouldn't Raheem Sterling just want to escape the English media? He could be
He will not
mentally
be able to.
exhausted.
Like, do you think this media will be better to him in Spain? I think they'll be more racist, honestly. Especially if he goes to like a Barcelona and doesn't perform too well. El Chiringuito will
guess
not
that's
play
there.
well with him. I don't think
I
so.
guess that's there. So
I'm not
getting
saying
back to your point.
Spain is more racist than England. That's not what my implication
Oh yeah,
is.
obviously.
But that thing will not go away. And Raheem Sterling, I think it might actually be better. I think what you're suggesting might actually happen, that just because he's just another player there, he's not Raheem Sterling. When he's in England, there is, in the past 15 years, no player has been discussed as divisively as Raheem Sterling in English media, I believe. Like in terms of his off-pitch behavior, not even his on-pitch stuff.
But like from your point, which other club in the Premier League where he would want to go, will he not be the player? I think a little bit of Liverpool rumors came up. I guess that's one option. But I don't think Liverpool need
do you
him.
think he want to go back to Liverpool? Do you think they'll take him? Actually, he'll
I
work
don't
very
think they
well
will.
because, like, from a football perspective, awesome. That would be awesome because Raheem Sterling is always putting in a shift, and Jurgen Klopp would love him. Like, there is no doubt about it.
Yeah, I guess that's there. But yeah,
Was
I
Klopp
don't
there
know.
when Sterling left? Like, I can't remember.
I'm not sure. Maybe it was the same year. I don't remember him performing under
Yeah, I don't remember
Jurgen
him playing
Klopp
for
at
Klopp
all.
either. Yeah.
I think he left that
I
season
think he had
only.
left. Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. He
I'm
was
pretty
there for
sure
that.
Raheem-
He was there for SAS, like
Yeah.
Sturridge and Suarez and Sterling. Like
Yeah, I remember that.
That's where he was. That's the last. I think one of the last.
I think Raheem Sterling signed before the proper Pep takeover also, right? He wasn't a Pep signing.
No, he was not a Pep signing. No.
He was a year before
Pep
it or
came in
something.
after Klopp, anyways. No, Klopp was
Yeah,
2015 and Pep I think was 2017 or 16 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there was 1 year transition or something. Maybe when Klopp came in, Raheem Sterling dipped, whatever.
But
yeah, I think Liverpool's there. But other than that, I don't see him. Where will he?
United, he's not going. There is no way.
No, he's not going.
Chelsea, there is no point in going. Like it's the same situation as City.
They don't
What's
need
the
him.
point?
Yeah.
Arsenal might be in play. I don't think he's not in play.
I think it's the thing,
as a loan, especially if it's a loan option. Arsenal would be willing to pay more on a loan basis than Barcelona. They can just easily blow them out of the water money wise.
I guess, but then it depends on Sterling. Does he want to stay in England and compete for the Premier League?
Yeah, that's the thing. Honestly, like the thing with the Sterling thing is that there's very little information whether he wants to leave. Also, at least Bernardo Silva is easier to speculate because he said he wants.
Yeah, I think Bernardo Silva to Arsenal makes a lot more sense. I think
Arsenal should hold off on not like. Okay, maybe Bernardo Silva, one of these guys you can get, but don't get too many of these guys like that.
I think I'd much rather take a striker before Bernardo Silva, maybe an Ollie Watkins or PCL. That's what's going on in the news right now. But yeah, I'm still really sad what happened to Lacazette, man. I really liked him. I wish he was. I really wish he would have started more games because he looks really good when he's on the pitch.
Like what happened to Lacazette? I'm confused.
They don't play him anymore.
Okay. Yeah, that just it. They just don't play him. Okay. I thought he got injured or something. I'm like, oh my god.
No. I think it's just that, I guess he's barely played for the games that don't exactly matter. Maybe a third.
And Arsenal are looking like they have a plan now. That's the problem. Like Arsenal look like they have more of a plan. Like,
I still
and
don't understand.
Lacazette is not part of it.
I think the only reason Lacazette is not playing is because of Aubameyang's contract renewal, I guess. And like you can't take
Maybe.
out Odegaard, Emil Smith Rowe, or Saka. Even Pepe
That's
doesn't
your
get
core.
chances
That's your
anymore.
core. Like we were talking
That
about
three
cores. That's your core. That's
that
literally your core.
those
Yeah.
three players aren't getting replaced. Odegaard might drop to an 8, which Ceballos played or something,
Hmm.
but that would still only allow
I
Pepe
like
to
him
enter
more at the
because
10. I want him to be in attacking situations
same.
more
I
than
want
the.
him there, but I think he sometimes will drop in there to fit
Some
in
games,
Pepe
yes,
into
you
a
can
game
play that because some
because I
games you
think
can with Partey because
because
Partey does so much, like you can get away with it
yeah,
sometimes with some teams.
I
But most of the games I would expect him to play at 10.
yeah, that's the lot. So I think
Hmm.
Lacazette is over. I think they should, if they do, they should cash in January, sell him to Roma or something, because his contract runs
Barcelona.
out. Sell him to Barcelona. I don't care.
Why not
Get
now? Now
5
that
million,
everybody is
get
going
5
to.
million, get
Yeah.
10 million, get something, and then invest on. I wouldn't want Ollie Watkins. I'd rather prefer DCL, especially for the crosses playing that Arsenal do.
But
I think Tierney's.
I think
I think Tierney will reach.
is DCL actually going to want to go? Okay, the transfer thing we are getting into too much. Let's get back and like let's finish off this Barcelona thing.
Just last point. Sorry. Just
Yeah,
last
go
point.
ahead. Okay, finish
I think Tierney's fucking goal output would just increase by 10 if DCL signs. His crosses will
Yeah,
actually
that
have
would
a
be
header
the
to fit in.
case.
His crosses will actually have a header to fit it in. Aubameyang can't do heads.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
but my problem with the DCL idea is that is Dominic Calvert-Lewin actually going to go? Because I'm not too sure about that.
I think I read. I'm not sure if it was just for Ollie Watkins, but though both the players have supported Arsenal from a younger age or something. So they
I
have the
think that
facts.
matters very little, honestly. I think like that counts when the player is actually interested. Like when a lot of things have gone on and the player is closer. That's when you take this into consideration. Right now, it's in such a rumor stage. I would give very little value. Like Kane used to wanted to play for Arsenal Academy. Those things mean very little, especially
I guess
since
that's
you're a
there,
kid
but
and
like
become an adult.
I guess it makes sense if like Nabry says he's a fan of Arsenal, but he's playing for Bayern Munich, so he won't go back there. But I still think I don't know how many people think that. I'm sure some people might have divided opinions on this, but I still think from Everton to Arsenal at this point of time is still an upgrade, whether be it money, whether be it fan base, whether be it Premier League in the long term. Everton
I think the way Everton have set up the last few years, I don't think it's that much of an upgrade because I think Everton have finally figured out a plan. I think Everton have realized, especially this year because of the pandemic, they have laid low and they've gotten Benitez to stop the bleeding. But I think from next year, when the money is back, the flow is back, when football recalibrates itself, I think the Everton is going to be one of the clubs. Now that Newcastle is also in play, I mean, there's a lot of clubs who are going to be. Aston Villa is one of those clubs that I think, along with Leicester, there are 4 clubs at least who are gunning for the top spots. Who are the clubs
I
who
think
want
Leicester not this season. Leicester
not this season. No. Leicester have established themselves. They're elite
they have.
now.
They've been there for a while. They're
elite now. Like they set themselves up in such a way that they have a transfer strategy. They have a the club is doing things like the way they've dealt with the women's team. Women's teams have home games at King Power. No other Premier League, no other WSL club has done this. So
I think watching Arsenal's women team is actually a relief as an Arsenal fan.
Oh, it should be. Okay, we haven't.
They're so good.
They're the best team in the league right now.
In the next opposite. Yeah, we should talk
they're
about
the best team in the league right now. Oh no, I didn't discuss much women's football because I thought you didn't watch it much. But I've been watching for the past couple of years. I don't watch it as much, but I keep up with it. Like I keep up with the news and I keep up with what's going on. Yeah.
Because I remember you talking about Tobin Heath and just going on, and now she's playing for Arsenal and she's amazing looking at her record and everything.
Yeah. You were talking about players who were fans of clubs. Tobin Heath was a fan of Arsenal. So yeah.
Yeah, see,
a point in your favor there. Yeah.
Exactly. And plus it holds a lot of weightage, I guess. If if it's your childhood dream for playing a club, like there are so many players from Aston Villa who could maybe like get an offer for an Arsenal or anything. But if their childhood dream is to play for Aston Villa, they'll do it.
Well,
not everyone has the dream to play for
Jack
Arsenal.
Grealish was a huge, like, not even just a fan, like the club gave him everything.
I guess that's
he chose to leave.
He chose to leave because that's not the career point wasn't going ahead, right?
Yeah. No. Jack Grealish did everything he could do for Aston Villa, I think. Like, exactly. You can't ask more. I don't think you can. And I think Aston Villa figured out at the end of the day, like it's the right thing to let him go.
They're
We
doing
will
well
plan.
without him.
Yeah, we will plan for Jack Grealish not being there, and we might actually be better than where we were with him, because at the
There's
end
a
of the
good
day,
chance of
when it's
that
a one-man
happening.
show, it's still one man. One man cannot lead you to infinite heights, as Manchester United fans will realize this season. Cristiano Ronaldo is
And
not
that
going to
one
lead you to
man
the
was
heights.
missing for 3-4 months last season. So without him, also they felt vulnerable. They need
Yeah,
to have a
they were
squad without
vulnerable
Jack
without
Grealish.
him. Yeah, exactly.
They
And they've
were.
tried to fill in that space, and they've done pretty well.
It's working well. It's working
Yeah,
well. I like
at least till now.
I
Let's see
think,
how it goes over the season. But yeah,
yeah, maybe like it's still very early on in the season to
yeah,
make any prediction like
yeah.
that. So yeah, moving back to Barcelona, where we
Yeah,
were.
I think we could. I think that thing is. What else do
It's
we
over though. Yeah, I
discuss
guess
about
we can't
Barcelona?
say much.
I think that's the thing. Like there are so many things you can discuss. I think at different times of the, like, as things come up. As I mean, in conclusion, I would just like to say about Barcelona. Giant fuck up from so many people involved. Bartomeu, like I think every Barcelona fan should curse him every night before they go to sleep, because of the epic level of mismanagement and like fraud. I would call it fraud. Some of the things that has happened under his management, like genuine fraud. They have frauded the club. Like, give me any written piece of paper that explains to me, like when they were making those signings, what's the reason for getting in Griezmann? What's the reason for getting in Dembele, Coutinho? Like, give me one piece of paper that explains on the pitch how any of these signings at the time they were made are supposed to work.
You know
Like-
what I was thinking? I think
Yeah.
maybe like when they were making the signings, right? Like, okay, I get that why you want Dembele or Coutinho. And they might have made a starting low offer, like,
Like
okay,
Dembele, I
we-
still get, but the other two, I think Griezmann and Coutinho, unforgivable.
no, I suppose I get that, like, okay, all right, we're gonna offer you 65 million for Dembele, which is a reasonable amount. Even at that time, when the inflation was there, it's a reasonable amount. They're like, no, they're like, we don't want to sell him. We're gonna make an offer of 140 million. Barcelona like done. I'm pretty sure Dortmund didn't think they were gonna be like, okay, they'll accept the 140 million. Only idiots would do that. They did that with Dembele, it didn't work out. They did it with Coutinho, it didn't work out. They did it with Griezmann, and it didn't work out. Couldn't they see the pattern?
I mean, okay, let's talk about the Coutinho thing. The moment that signing happened, like it was so obvious at the time that Liverpool were very happy doing that deal. The fans weren't as on board with it, but Klopp and everybody in that boardroom, like, because they've got a great set of scouting and the way their transfer recruitment strategy and all works. They've got a very big team, and Michael Edwards was in charge until recently. I think he's going to leave at the end of the year or something. And like these guys, they were ecstatic about whatever went down with Barcelona. They were so happy, I believe. Like they were like, this is going to set us up for the future. I think it was a January signing, if I am not wrong, the Coutinho
Yeah,
one,
it
right?
was. And that instant, they're like, okay, Coutinho's gone, get in Van Dijk and Alisson.
Van Dijk was the same window, right?
Yeah,
I think Van Dijk was the same window. Alisson was the next one. Alisson was summer. Alisson was summer. Alisson was summer. Yes.
I think Van Dijk was summer as
No,
well.
no. Van Dijk, they wanted to get in the summer. Southampton said no, and then you remember the whole case of Liverpool were trying to use some back channels to influence Van Dijk and something like that, and Southampton complained to the league. That happened in the summer, so Liverpool had to wait, and they got him in Jan. Virgil van Dijk is supposed to be the best January signing of all time.
I'm not sure because
I can confirm this. I can.
You
I'll
might
write
be
it
right.
on
I'm
him.
pretty sure. I guess that. But he didn't play in the final, did he, against Real Madrid?
Oh no, I think I don't remember honestly. No, I'm not sure.
I don't remember seeing him play. Wait, let me just check the lineup for.
Was that season or was that next season?
It was the same season that Liverpool reached the final and lost to Real Madrid. That Coutinho was sold in the January.
Yeah, no, because some of these dates I'm not sure about. The Van Dijk thing, what I'm telling you, I'm definitely sure about. But yeah, the other things. That was the final was the Karius thing, na, when everything went to shit. I think Van Dijk did play that final because 2 of the goals were directly Karius's fault. So
Wait, let me just check
Yeah,
when Van
and
Dijk's because if he would have played the final if he was signed.
yeah,
Then.
I think he did, and yeah, I think that's when they realized that Virgin van Dijk is not the only thing that they have to do to get this thing done, because the keeper became the problem
Yeah,
after
so
that.
you're right. He did sign in the January transfer. Let me just check up the lineups for the match.
Yeah,
This is Liverpool.
yeah, and yeah, as I was saying, Allison came in to the summer because of Karius's performance, and I think it's not even Karius's fault as much. I think it's just that
He had a concussion. I mean,
the
yeah, I
concussion and
guess.
everything, he just wasn't at the level that they needed him to be. When squads level up, some of the players aren't able to level up with the squad. Virgin van Dijk was the one that made the squad level up. Mohamed Salah leveled up. Sadio Mane leveled up. Firmino leveled up.
Van
All
Dijk
these guys
did play.
leveled up.
Van Dijk did play with Lovren. So yeah, he
Yeah,
was there. I don't remember
yeah,
seeing him, but he was there.
yeah.
Fair
But
enough.
yeah, that's the thing. Like Van Dijk wasn't the biggest focus of that final, no? Because the wind of brilliance came in after Van Dijk was. Oh shit! Yeah. So, oh shit! This is an important call. It's a
All right,
work-related call.
we take it.
Yeah, we'll continue this in a bit actually. Like I'll just pause this.